Thanks for tuning in to a special From the Stacks episode of How's Things, a podcast from the David A. Howe Public Library right here in Wellsville, New York. I'm Nick Gunning. Today, my guest is Melanie Miller, the director of the Box of Books Library and host of a new podcast that we're going to get into. Melanie, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. You know, it wasn't that long ago that you and I were podcasting together, though it feels like a full decade.
It does.
Do you remember this?
Because it was at the start of the pandemic.
It was like right when that was going, and we thought, "Oh, this will be a short thing." I was doing a director interview every week, and I was going to do that, you know, kind of until things got back to normal. And I did like 6 or 7, and I was like, "Okay, this isn't going away."
We'll be back at the library soon.
You and I geeked out about Joyce Carol Oates on that episode.
Yes, we did.
As you recall, you can find that at soundcloud.com/allthebooks or anywhere you get your podcasts. Isn't that fun?
It sure is.
Melanie, I'll tell you what I like about you. Are you ready?
Sure.
You know, you and I we're both library directors. We work in the library biz. And oftentimes in the library biz, there's this whole like, hey, you guys, give yourselves a round of applause. You're all superheroes kind of talk. And I can't take it. I can't take that kind of stuff. You know, like if things are too earnest, I can't handle it.
No,
and I don't mean to out you on a podcast here, but you've got kind of a bad attitude. If I'm being honest, a little bit.
What?
No, in a good way. You just have a little bit. You have a little bit of an edge underneath that I appreciate.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, just like that. Some of the more corny stuff, you're like, okay, but I can see in your eyes that you're kind of like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't like corny.
Can we move it on? Can we do some practical things here? So
yeah.
So I always appreciate that. Well, you really took umbrage when I said you had a bad attitude.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know.
Were you like
I got aggressive there, didn't
Were you a teacher's pet back in the day?
100%.
Really? All the teachers liked me, but I was constantly in trouble.
You know, Nick, I was a teacher's pet up until about 5th grade. And then there was a turning point where I was like, you know what? Then my bad attitude came out.
See, I knew it. Did you ever have a goth phase?
I did not.
Oh, that's too bad.
No, I did not.
What was like a moody teenage
never
habit?
Too late.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. Did you have a moody teenage phase where you were really into like slam poetry or something? Like, what'd you do?
No, not slam poetry. I was just all around moody in general. Okay. I'm a Cancer. I guess that's a classic sign of a Cancer. You know?
Wow.
That's what they tell me.
Dropping some astrology here.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. All right. How long have you been the director at the Box of Books Library?
Oh, gosh, Nick.
Sorry.
How long has it been? Why are you pop quizzing me?
I didn't mean to. I thought it would be a very natural question for me to ask you. I can tell you that I started in Wellsville January 13th, 2014. I always remember that date because it was my mom's birthday. So I've been in Wellsville for 7 years, and I've been director for maybe about 5, coming up on something like that. I
think when we did our first interview, I think I had just had my 5th anniversary.
As you've been the director the whole time?
Yes.
I'm just trying to remember, like, if you were the director at the Box of Books when I started as director here. Yeah. It's not a competition.
No, yeah, you had to.
So, okay, all right. Did you do any library work before? I mean, I could go back and listen to our other interview, but I'm not going to do that.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I started at Scholes at Alfred University.
That's right, because I too worked at Scholes, sort of, because I was at Herrick Memorial, but they were renovating the building, and so our offices and circulation desk were operating out of Scholes. That's right.
Okay.
I remember now. Remember now. And you are, I mean, we're talking here today because you're new well, you're not new, but your library is new to the podcast game. You've got a new podcast.
We're brand new.
Yeah. I like the short bite episodes that you do. You're doing like 15 minutes, something like that, right? 15, 20
minutes. Yeah, that's my goal. My goal is less than 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Mostly because I have the attention span of a squirrel.
And what's their attention span like?
You know, have you seen a squirrel, Nick?
Yeah.
Like they're like all over the place.
Melanie, I've seen squirrels really like go. I've seen YouTube videos of squirrels doing obstacle courses, just trying to get like a walnut, and to me, that's a pretty good attention span. So I guess that's where the problem is. You have a bad attention span, right? That's what you're getting at.
They like freeze and they like think about something, like it's like they're like,
okay,
they might be doing that obstacle course, but they like stop and then they're like doing like calculus in their head or something.
Oh, wow.
Or something.
I was never into math. I remember so clearly in college when I finished the final of my last math class. I will never forget the freedom of that.
Yeah, me too.
And you know what? I do math all the time now because like budgets and everything. Like I'm constantly doing math. So in some ways, I could never truly be free of mathematics.
Sometimes I'll call my husband and I'll be like, I have a math question for you. And he'll be like, oh my gosh.
Well, that's not fair because Mike's a banker. So, I mean,
he is a banker.
You have an in. That's not fair. Though my wife is an editor. And so every time I have to write something, I'll send it to her and be like, just give me a little once over here. So.
Oh, see, you can borrow Mike. Can I borrow Hillary?
She's got a pretty packed schedule, but I'll see what we can work out.
First of all, my husband says that you're his favorite librarian.
Oh, that's nice. What a nice guy.
See?
Yeah. He listens to my podcast. Does he listen to yours?
Not yet, that I know.
All right. Well, you got to catch up.
In fairness, it just came out Saturday.
True.
So.
That's true. It's an early one. All right, before we get to that,
it's an infant.
Let's do a little mini bookmark segment. Melanie, what have you been reading lately? Anything you've been excited about?
Yes, two things.
Okay.
I just finished a book. I talk about it on the podcast a little bit.
Okay.
Apple, Skin to the Core by Eric Gansworth.
Huh.
It's a young adult book.
Okay.
It's written in verse.
Oh, I like that.
I recommend this book to everyone because it is amazing. It's a memoir, but he talks about his experiences with racism growing up on a reservation. Apple is a derogatory term for Native Americans.
Oh.
But he sort of takes that term and reinvents it. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of Beatles references. So if you're a fan of the Beatles,
I'm in.
He incorporates his artwork into it. It's terrific. It's wonderful. I cannot say enough things about it.
We've done for the last couple of years, we've done like Poetry Month specials where we look at some of the YA novels in verse. The last one we did was Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. Have you read that one? Yes. Great. That's a great one. Last year we did Poet X, and we've also done a couple of the Kwame Alexander books. I like it. You know, I don't often like just sit down and read poetry for the heck of it, but I find that the YA novels written in verse are something about the format makes them just that much more like moving and compelling. So
I've just recently gone on this huge like novels in verse kick.
Okay.
It started with I can't remember the title, but it was about Joan of Arc.
Oh. The Final Hours of Joan of Arc?
Yes, Voices, The Final Hours of Joan of Arc by David Elliott.
Yeah.
That's written in verse, and it's amazing. And in there, I think it's in his notes, or in his acknowledgments, he references Alan Wolfe, and Alan Wolfe also writes many books, young adult books, written in verse.
Okay.
One of them is called The Watch That Ends the Night. That's about the Titanic.
Oh.
And he also wrote The Snow Fell 3 Graves Deep, and that's about the Donner Party.
Oh, wow.
And that was amazing.
A lot of death. A lot of death in these books.
Yes. Very, very heavy, but super, super fascinating. They do amazing jobs.
All right. That was one. You said there were two. What's the other?
Yes, I'm also currently reading Just Mercy by Brian Stevenson.
Oh,
That's our True Crime Book Club book. So
have you seen? I haven't seen the movie. Did you watch the movie?
No, I have not seen the movie. But I feel like I need to watch it when I finish the book because I don't know how they do the movie.
Yeah.
There's this main case that he focuses on, Walter Macmillan. But then every other chapter he sort of like alternates, some like facts about the U.S. prison system and criminal justice system. And so I don't know how the movie would work that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see. I'm
Yeah.
interested to see. Watch the movie.
Huh. Okay. So that's your true crime book club then? That's doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that will be covered on our podcast next
Oh,
month.
okay.
Mhm.
All right. I've been sort of 2020 was a dead zone for me as far as reading. I feel like all of the more like highbrow reading that I wanted to do, I just didn't because,
Same.
the world was smoldering ashes. And I'm hoping,
Yes.
to right that wrong in 2021. Though I have to admit I'm not off to a great start. Um I've been reading some of the books that I got for Christmas, so I've read some graphic novels that I enjoyed. I'm currently reading Promised Land, the first part of the Barack Obama duology of autobiographies. So,
I haven't started it yet.
yeah,
It
I'm a
came
sucker
in.
for presidential history and biographies and things. So I'm looking forward
Yes.
to read it. I read his Dreams from My Father forever ago when I was working at Alfred, actually. And I read another book on Barack Obama by Chuck Todd that I thought was really interesting. But this is I like that book that's like after the dust is settled on a presidency, like that he sits
Yes.
down and writes
Yeah.
it. I actually very much enjoyed George W. Bush's decision points as well. So
Okay.
when the subject is writing about themselves, you have to take it with a grain of salt. But the thing that I'm liking so far about Promised Land are the things that like you can tell a lot by the things that he's choosing to focus on. And it was the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with Bush and decision points. It was like picking these key things, and it's like the things they write about tell you, or the things they don't write about tell you just as much about those as the things they do, because it's kind of
Sure.
like what the focus is. The frame of that story. I think it makes you. It's compelling reading the words, but it's also compelling to read between the lines. I find, and that sort of thing.
Sure. Sure. Yes.
In fluffy dumb things, do you get advanced copies? Do you get screeners and stuff sent to the library of early things?
Not sent to the library. Sent to me personally.
Okay.
Yes, I do that.
I'm a sucker for these, and there was this one graphic novel that was Terminator versus Transformers, and I was like, that sounds
Ooh,
so stupid that I have to read it cover to cover, and so I did,
absolutely.
and it was very stupid. I have to
But
say,
sometimes that's what you need.
yeah, but not this kind of stupid. This
Oh
I feel
no.
like this
Okay.
this to me felt more like fan fiction. Like this is something like a
Oh.
teenager would doodle in like a college ruled binder. Like that's what it felt like.
Okay.
The art was really really old school. It felt like something that had been sitting around since 1984, not something that was like new and looking back in a nostalgic way. So I'm sorry to say that I didn't think that was fun at all. Are you into graphic novels? You don't read a lot of graphic novels, do you?
I do.
You do?
Oh, I don't read a lot of graphic novels.
Yeah.
Um, I did read two though relatively recently.
Hit me.
I reviewed both of them in the podcast.
Okay. Well, I know you
Um,
talk about Superman Smashes the Klan because that was one of my. I feel like that was the best
did.
book I read of 2020 among them.
So I liked it so much I ordered a copy for myself
Yeah.
personally,
Yep.
which
Good
is
call.
unusual. And when it came in the mail, my husband was like, "What are you doing? Why are you
Yeah.
ordering comics?" And I was like, "Surprise.
Yeah.
This is the woman you married.
Yeah.
I am the woman of your dreams."
Well, I think what's so astonishing about this too is that this is adapted pretty faithfully from like a 1940s radio drama.
Yes.
So, I mean, the fact
Yes.
that they were doing that kind of story in the 1940s, I think is really impressive considering the
Amazing.
time frame.
Yes. It's so cool.
And last I checked, we also had that digitally in the collection. So if you're using Overdrive or Libby, it's right in there, so you can check it out that way as well. I think it's pretty widely held in the system too. So put a hold on it if you want to read it. Let's get into your podcast, Melanie.
Let's.
Okay. So why was it specifically the pandemic that led you to want to do that, or is it something you'd been thinking about for a while?
It's been something that I've been thinking about for a while, but then the pandemic was sort of the
Yeah.
final push. Just trying to look for ways to get the word out about new books,
Mm-hmm.
things that we're doing at the library,
Yeah.
finding like creative ways to still engage with patrons
Mm-hmm.
was that final push to like really do it. And then we are working. This is a secret. You'll be the first to know this,
Breaking
Nick.
news! Breaking news here on How
Breaking
Things.
news. Yeah. So Sherilyn Wise and I,
Mhm.
Sherilyn from Cuba
Yes.
library.
Sure.
She was working on a new logo for us.
Oh.
And yeah,
So the library logo, not the podcast logo.
yeah, the library logo
Okay.
podcast. And without giving too much away on the logo, that sort of inspired the name of the podcast,
Okay.
Outside the Box.
Outside the box.
Yeah.
So tell me a little about the format. How's the podcast work?
My goal is 2 episodes a month.
Uh-huh.
One that will focus on our true crime book selection. We have a true crime book club that meets monthly,
Mm-hmm.
and that's super well attended and
Great.
probably one of our more popular programs. So we're going to talk about that book.
Okay.
And then the other episode is called A Box of New Books. And
Uh-huh.
that will be all about the new books that we got in
Okay.
to the library. We're really playing up this whole box
Oh yeah,
thing.
you have to. Getting
we have to.
Getting the new boxes in is always a very exciting prospect.
It's like my favorite thing ever.
When we like right after when we started like reopening the library again, and our distributor started sending the books, like we'd been ordering all along, but there was a big holdup. And so for like a couple of weeks, like over the course of maybe 2 weeks, we got like 70 boxes chock full of the books that we'd been ordering since March, And it was just, I mean, it was like the best Christmas ever, just like rip, what's in this one? It was great. It was an exciting time.
And the smell of new books.
Yeah. Yep. Unmistakable. It's funny. I mean, obviously, again, the world is a burning wreckage at the moment, but under normal circumstances, even though I'm in a library all day, if I had my choice of the thing to do after work, it would be to go to a bookstore.
100%.
I mean, that's just what I want to do. So like I have the right job, I guess,
My husband doesn't understand why I still feel the need to own books.
Yeah. It's different.
He's like, you work in a library, you can get all of these for free. And I'm like, but shut your mouth.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
I know. There are certain books that
you have to own.
You have to own, yeah. What I've done, because it got out of hand for a while there, where I was just kind of like, anytime I went to the store, I was like, and I will take you, and I will take you, and I will take you. I started doing a thing where like I only buy a book if I am like ready to start it, or if like the book I'm reading has like 30 pages left, and I know I'm going to be starting a new book in the next day or two. But if I know that like I just started a book, I'm not going to get to this one for a couple weeks, then I'm like, I'm not going to buy it. See what happens. And that's helped.
So that's self-control.
Yeah. You don't have that?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't.
Well, I'm glad you're so open about it.
So my sister got me started on the book of the month.
Oh yeah.
Box.
Yes.
So I get a book of the month. I select a book and it comes to my house, and I'm so far behind in reading.
Yeah.
I have a stack of them.
Yep.
But it's so exciting, and I continue to choose a book.
Yeah, we have a patron, a regular patron in Wellsville who subscribes to the Book of the Month Club, and they will often donate those books when they're done. So I sort of feel like we're subscribed to the Book of the Month Club because we end up seeing most of them as donations. Yeah, I know what you mean as far as getting behind, though, because I like to read all of the books that the library, like even if I'm not the one who's leading the book club, I still want to read the book that the library is doing that week so that I can talk about it with random people, or if people come into the desk, I want to be able to be like, oh, this book is, and this is what it is about, and this is great. So Eric always did this thing, my old pal Eric Mickles, he always had this thing where he would do a one for them, one for me, where he would like read a book for the job, and then he would read a book that he wanted to read, and that worked pretty well for him. But it is hard.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
It's hard to keep up with because then you have to add in like, I like to read like the Booker Prize winner, or we just had the Youth Media Awards, and so I like to read the Caldecott and the Newberry, which is usually not as long. Yeah. But like I like to read the award winners, I like to read the book club books, and then I just have like authors that I like and series that I like, and so it's just
it's a mess.
I very much relate to that Twilight Zone episode with Burgess Meredith where all he wants to do is read books. Have you seen this one?
I've not.
You haven't seen it? His whole thing is that he's obsessed with reading books, and his wife and like his coworkers are always like, knock it off and live your life. Stop reading the books. And he's like, but I just want to read the books. So he goes, I'm going to spoil this episode, everyone. So this is like 70 years old, so just deal with it. He goes into the vault in the bank, and he's just gonna get some reading
Oh,
time.
no, I have seen this. My husband made me watch this.
Yes. And so he survives this big like
Yes.
explosion. It's just him. And he's like, now I can read all the books. And then he trips and breaks his glasses in the most tragic turn of any film or television.
Yes.
So you and I, Melanie, are like Burgess Meredith. Only our glasses work right now. So fingers crossed.
Currently.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need my glasses to read.
I could get away with not having my glasses to read. I'd have to hold it a little closer, but I could do it. I could do it. So I'm not as far gone as Burgess Meredith in that episode. Boy, I've said Burgess Meredith a lot.
That's okay.
If the home listeners were doing a drinking game, they'd be under the table at this point with the amount of times I've said Burgess Meredith.
Burgess Meredith.
But that's neither here nor there. So when does your next episode drop?
Later this month.
Okay.
New episodes will air.
Okay, and so you say they alternate between a true crime spotlight and a new book spotlight.
That's correct. Yep.
And are you? Is it you? Are you going to have guests? Do you have a list of guests?
We have. Hopefully there'll be guests. Hopefully it won't just be me every time.
Yeah.
Because that'll be super boring. Nobody wants to hear me yammer on about books.
So listen, I have to. You got one dedicated listener. So right there.
One dedicated listener.
It's a good way to start.
So I've got to rope in some guests.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got one guest lined up.
That's cool.
You.
Who is it? Oh, me. No. Oh, well, there you go. So our listeners are very familiar with that, with your first guest. Yep. That should work. That should work just fine. All right. Well, welcome to the podcast neighborhood, Melanie.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks for doing this with me.
You're welcome. I have to tell you, the thing that I'm most jealous about your job is I love the food in Alfred.
We do have some pretty awesome food.
I mean, it's just everywhere you go. I love that. I love the terracotta. That was like, I feel like I spent most of my paycheck when I worked at the Alfred Library, because it wasn't much, in the terracotta, because I loved it. And this was back in the days when the Jet was over, like right across from your building.
Right across from,
corner. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. If the Jet was that close, I would be in trouble.
All right. Well, hey, Melanie, always fun to talk to you. I'm happy to be on your podcast anytime you want. So just give me a call. And friends, go and find, is it outside the box or outside of the box?
My family and I had this huge discussion if it should be outside of the box or outside the box. It's outside the box.
Okay. I like that better.
Me too.
All right.
Thank you. Outside the box.
Outside the box. All right. And go find Outside the Box wherever you get your podcasts. Melanie, I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Nick.
So long.